And I think I'm Aaron DeMott, if this is working.
And today we are joined by the one and only Nick Cole. Our co host Liberty could not join us today due to the cursed ice and snow of the Midwest. So, welcome, Nick.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
All right, do we not have a... Hang on a minute. We might be having a technical difficulty already.
lovely.
Let me double check that here.
We appreciate your patience, Nick.
Oh, you know what? I probably threw you because I think you guys normally require record at a later time.
A little bit earlier, actually, but that's
Oh, a
okay.
little bit earlier. Okay. Well,
Okay, it
that would
looks
be
like...
like that. That would be darkness here on the
All right,
West
looks like
Coast.
we actually are live, maybe, hopefully, so...
All
Groovy.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So, Nick, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? Um,
I'm a shepherd. No. Let's see. Everybody who's watched Flash will get that reference, but
yep.
maybe it's a certain generation. I'm a writer. I used to be an actor. Used to be a soldier, and just enjoy writing. Was sort of in the ground floor of the indie movement with a book. A few people might remember called The Old Man in the Wasteland. It was a huge bestseller in 2011. It's still out now. You can get it in the omnibus, the American Wasteland. Um, and now, what most people know me for right now is writing the Galaxy's Edge series with Jason Spock, and I think that's almost about 20 books deep, and it's really rolling and doing quite well. And we have an active reader and listener base who just absolutely love it and have resounded with it, and we love the community. It's just become this cool community, and we all dig each other, and they help us write stories and inspire us with their own stories, and then we write stories, and here's what it really is: we're just having fun. And that's something I talk about with a lot of writers, because I've reached that level right now where a lot of people who are just starting out come to me, and they say, like, well, how are you doing it, or what are you doing? And I really just try to break it down to people and just say, if you're having fun with it, they'll have fun. And
Excellent.
yeah, and that's what I'm doing right now. I mean, that's what Jason and I are both doing with Galaxy's Edge. When we initially came up with the concept, we said we were just playing with action. Like it came out of the death of the Star Wars expanded universe
Yep.
demise. And when Jason and I came up with the concept, we said we're just playing with action figures in the dirt, like we're 12,
Oh yeah.
and that still has not changed. Like we still freeze our Hans in the ice machine of carbonite, that we all used to do with kids. We still light Boba Fett on fire. Jason doesn't let me light his action figures on fire, but
Aw.
yeah.
Aw.
He thinks the action figures are best played with in their cases.
Uh,
Yeah.
blah.
Fair enough. Uh, So, Aaron, do you want to pick up with question three because that kind of answers one and two?
That's true.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See,
Hey, no
that's the trick.
worries.
You'll get at it. You'll barely get a word in if I start
Uh,
talking. I'm sorry. I
and we're
run
out of
on
questions
coffee
already.
and donuts. Yeah, yeah. We'll run out. But don't worry. I'll just make up stuff.
All right.
All right, the next question is: do you have a favorite scene or character from the Bogugur series?
It's like I love everything I write. I like it when moments really come together, and I have a personal philosophy about how I write, and I'm very I don't always see all the big connections, but then later I see them come together, um, and I'm just thankful that that happens. I have a religious system. I believe in a God. I believe in a creator. I believe he inspires me. And so when those things begin to come together, that I initially, well, I'm going to write this guy. I'm going to make up this name, and then like 6 or 7 books later, or 7 chapters later, it comes together and pays off. I'm like, oh, I didn't even see that that was going to happen. But I think that my I'm talking on my chords today, so I should sound deeper and talk like this, which is
No
how people
worries.
think I talk. But I I think my favorite character is really Tyrus Rex. I identify with him in a lot of ways. Um, I think all writers do. A lot of the times we're just writing ourselves.
Hmm.
No
But
comment.
Tyrus Rex is just, yeah. Tyrus Rex is just a really fun character who sort of lives by his own code and sees the world in black and white, and feels that right and wrong trump laws or justice or things like that. And that's kind of the kind of person that I am, and try to live by and try to navigate by. And then he's just a person who's been around for an incredibly long time, and that's a bit how I, I'm only 51, but it's weird. I've started to be surrounded by more younger people than older people, and
Hmm.
I think most of my life was more older people than younger people. And so, and I've always had a real love for history, and especially writers like Vonnegut. Vonnegut was really good on showing you how sort of history, how things meant something later, and that's a big recurring theme in Tyrus Rex. And then I really like writing sort of the ultra violence scenes of Tyrus Rex. Like someone said, there was a great little review that someone left on Audible, and they said if John Wick were a book, it would be this book. And I'm like, yep, you
Oh,
got
That's a good review.
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a very.
Requiem for Medusa. And that series is just, we've got in Galaxy's Edge, we've got the main seasons, which is one, and we're just moving into two now. And
Yep.
then we have the Tyrus Rex Contracts and Termination series, and that's very much like if you liked The Mandalorian, we were ahead of it, and it's
All right.
basically it's space Boba Fett. And then we've got the Order of the Centurion series, which is think of the Medal of Honor. It's individual tales told about legionnaires who earned the highest medal the Legion can offer, and that's written with some co-authors and some different authors that
All
are
right.
popular in military science fiction. And then coming soon, which is the big blockbuster one, we've got the Savage Wars, which is the prequel to the main series. And the really cool
Ooh.
thing about that is if you ever saw Avatar, the
Yep.
villain in that is actually reading the book for us, the trilogy. So his name's
Oh,
Stephen Lang. So we're really super excited about
Oh,
that. That was
nice.
the big get from Audible.
Yeah.
that is amazing.
Yeah, and apparently like, like when you're a rock star celebrity and you get to come in and do, because I narrate audiobooks too, and I'm sort of like the farm league of narrating audiobooks. They're still kind of testing me out and seeing if I can go play in the majors.
Yeah.
I haven't been offered a narrating a Stephen King book, but when you're Stephen Lang, like they limo you to the studio, you get, they cater lunches and everything like that. So on the last day, they were shooting a bunch of press with him because they were really excited about this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And he turned to the executives and he's like, Tyrus Rex is like the ultimate hero. And then he said, is there like going to be a movie for this? Because like he was expressing interest in playing the part. And
Oh,
it turns out
wow.
that, yeah, we are in talks for we're in very preliminary talks with two different networks to do a Galaxy's Edge series. But that was cool
Nice.
that
Yeah.
that guy wanted to play that role.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's incredible, and
yeah.
kudos to you. Uh, so like you talked about a little bit about your process, and how things just come to you. Does that mean you're more of a pantser or discovery writer? Um,
I'm definitely. It's weird. I think about process a lot lately, and I don't think that I ever did because I was really a fly by the seat of your. Where a lot of my creativity comes from is I, like all of us, I've been collecting it, since we were 8, since we first read,
yeah.
Tolkien or whatever. Every movie, you're all. I think there's a great, if you ever read Steve Martin's biography, it's really a good read. Um, and he talks about he was on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and
Hmm.
Johnny Carson did like the goofy voice, and everybody
Yeah.
started listening, laughing. And Johnny Carson turned around to Steve Martin. He said, "You will use everything you ever learned in this business to entertain people for 1 minute longer." So I was an actor after the army, and I learned a lot about storytelling and acting, and everything like that. I found that to be so true, and I think Chuck Palahniuk talks about it, that after the first 4 novels that he wrote, he was kind of out of ideas, and he
Yeah.
started just talking to people and getting things. So the truth is, even if you are a pantser, you've been collecting this stuff for years, and then you just have to develop a system to access it. Like I said, I get up early in the morning. I do some philosophical work. I do about 3 workouts. Yeah, I do about 3 workouts before I do yoga with my wife. I road march and I lift a little weights. And then I'll write for the rest of the afternoon. So I kind of like, I'm all cleaned out, which is how I like to work. Like I'm like very much, then I pray and I go for it. And a lot of the going for it is drawing on the stuff that I read, documentaries I watch, books that I read. But one of the skills that really I never understood, my acting career was not a great career. Like I did a little bit of Secret Service on West Wing, and I did a
Yeah.
pizza commercial, and I did a lot of Shakespeare. Like I was on Scrubs once as a radiologist. Like, nothing. Like you go to Hollywood thinking you're going to be Matt Damon or Tom Cruise, and you end
Yeah.
up third guy from the right on a Sonic commercial. And but and that's the hat tip to Dennis Miller. If you ever, he talks about that. That's a phrase from him. But I studied at the Groundlings in LA, which is where like Will Ferrell, Lisa Kudrow,
Okay.
John Lovitz, Phil Hartman, and
Yep.
they have a very specific, style of improv, and it's about improv storytelling. And you do all these sort of exercises and everything like that to learn how to tell stories. And I find, like when your career is kind of falling apart, but your writing career, when your acting career is falling apart, as in my agent, kept sending me to auditions I was not right for. And like the last call he ever sent me to was a Saturn commercial to play Zeus. And,
Okay.
and yeah. And I'm sitting there making money on Old Man in the Wasteland. I'm making money at home in my chair, finally, writing
Yep.
books, or go to LA for 2 hours, stand there with 200 other Zeuses and get told no. And this was not like Zeus. This was like frat boy Zeus. So
Okay.
so it wasn't even like it wasn't even Clash of the Titans Zeus. This was like a Jack Black Zeus. And
All right.
I just said that's it. Like there's a moment when your regular career is ending and your writing is taking off, and you're wondering, you're looking back and you're saying, well, what was all that for? Like we all say that in our lives, whether you break up with somebody or whether you seemingly waste your life at a job or a degree program. And you say, I'm not even doing what I studied to do. I'm not even doing what I trained to do. What was that for? And what you find is that later in life, like I was talking about, how things come about in chapters later, and you're like, yes,
Yep.
it's that aha moment when it means something. Man, I found that to be a reoccurring theme in my life. And I know writers, and there's a lot of probably writers who listen to this, and people who are interested in creating, like there's a moment where it's not coming together for you. And
Yep.
you're
Mm-hmm.
wondering like, what is this for? But, I'm a little farther along the trail than most people. And I would just say, hang in there, because you're going to need to entertain someone 1 minute longer. And there was that one time you learned how to like you're in college and you had to work in a bagel shop and you had to learn how to make bagels at 4 o'clock in the morning. And you're gonna use that, or you learn how
Yep.
to swap out a 32 amp fuse on a Harley Davidson, or whatever stupid skill that you had to use. It's weird. It shows up in books, and you'll need it. And
That's
then
good to know.
later, you eventually realize, oh, I should just run around acquiring more useless skills,
Yeah.
because then I have more things to write about.
There you go. Kind
Yeah.
of to derail the conversation a little bit, but kind of on the same topic. You were talking about switching over from your quote unquote regular career to writing. What was that experience like, and can you give any recommendations to people as far as when to make that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the moment right now in indie publishing. It's when we first started out, it was me and Hugh Howey and Amanda Hawking and John Locke and things like that. You were basically getting swept out of your day job because Big Pub saw that you were making a lot of sales and they wanted that, and so
Hmm.
they rounded us all up. And I went to HarperCollins and had just a miserable experience there writing books for them. So like that was like seemingly, like, and pretty much everybody who went to Trade Pub had a terrible time. You got some
Okay.
money, but it wasn't all the money in the world. And that's why I tell, Trade Pub is dead. Don't waste your time there. You can make more money as an indie. And a lot of people have figured that out. It's weird when I still meet people who haven't figured that out. Usually these are people that just wasted $200,000 at a degree at a university, and they're still thinking like, I need to submit to agents or anything like that. I'm like, agents are dinosaurs. They're dead. They're gone. You need an agent at a certain level. Maybe you need an agent at a certain level higher, but not initially. And everybody's thinking that Trade Pub's going to make your career and all that kind of stuff. It's not. They're
Mm.
just hoping you accidentally are J.K. Rowling and then they can draft on you. But we've now entered this new phase, and it's a dangerous phase. It's very E-Trade 1999 in that there's a lot of gurus, quote unquote, out there telling people, I call it, and then you quit your job. So the and then you quit your job crap. I did this, I did these 7 steps, I did these things, and then you quit your job. And a
Okay.
lot of people are going to conferences, they're going into this, they're reading the books, blah, 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 because a lot of people do want to quit their jobs. They're miserable, they hate it, and everything like that. And that's not wrong. Like, you
I
gotta,
just want to stay
like
home and play all day. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the most honest guy in the world. We all do. And but then when you're writing, you find out like your playtime, like like I said, like it takes me a good 5 hours to get ready to write, and then 5 hours of writing, and then like then I'll jump on a shoot people in the face because I'm so out of stuff. I'm like I'm out, I'm spent. And then
Yep.
I'll watch documentaries. So it is work, but it's kind of a fun work
yeah,
in those respects. Like if you're disciplined and you can work, like I think you should. But if you are going to play, then I'd be concerned.
yeah,
Because it's you now. You're operating with and you gotta and it's a weird thing to have success, and then you never stay at your level of success. Like if you were eating Dinty Moore as an actor and macaroni and cheese, and then suddenly you got a $15,000 a week show, role on Criminal Minds. You don't keep eating Dinty Moore. You're suddenly at Spago, and you're like, oh, well, why wouldn't I want a gilded truffle, tuna
Yep.
sandwich and everything like that? And so the same thing with writing. You begin to acquire more debts and things like that. Well, now you wake up one night and you're like, man, I hope everybody keeps buying these books, because if not, I'm screwed.
yeah.
And then that
Yep.
becomes a pressure all in and of itself. So the question you ask is, how do you transition, and when do you go? And I would just say, I think the person really, to if you really want to leave your job and you want to build a career, totally possible, never been more possible now than it ever has been. But you have to avoid the gurus who are trying to teach methods that are not going to be sustainable on Amazon. And I think
Yeah.
I think that the super, I'm going to try to rapid release a bunch of crap all day long, every day of the
Yeah.
week, that kind of stuff. Don't do
Yep.
that. And that's already being throttled at Amazon. But the guy that I think is the smartest guy in the room is Chris Fox. And he wrote a brilliant series called Six Figure Off. It's a series of books, and it just walks you through. And Chris was a data engineer in Silicon Valley, and he's a successful author. He's a successful mentor. And he just wrote some very, like, his audiobooks are great. You can go through them. They're 45 minutes to listen to. And he just practically teaches you, and he does video YouTubes and stuff like that. But he's a guy that can practically teach you how to generate positive income at writing books. And I think one of the things that he says is, give it about 3 to 5 years and you can make a living at this. And then you just have to decide, like, if you live in Mississippi or whatever, you could probably make 45 to $55,000 a year and not have to work. If you live where I live in LA, you probably better make 100 to 200,000 dollars. So it just depends on where you're willing to live and what you're willing to live with. But do I think that people can make a living by writing books? Yes. Um, it's just like, no, there are other things that come, and the things that come after this is, no one ever plans for success. What they
Yep.
plan for, what they take is, they take the book and they write one book and they throw it out in the market, and they say to the readers, they say, you tell me if I'm a success or not. And maybe accidentally, like I had with Old Man in the Wasteland, the readers say, hey, you are a success. We want more of this. And there you are with nothing left to sell. nothing else to
Yep.
sell. And you say, well, I'll start writing a book. And 6 months later, you go back and try to give them a sequel, and the readership is gone because they've gone on to somebody else, because that's how Amazon works now, which is,
Yeah.
there are a lot of reasons Big Pub is dying. One of the biggest reasons is their authors are fat, stupid, slow, and lazy. And not because they are those things, but because the environment has said you can only put out one book a year. If you're Stephen King, you can put out two books. Meanwhile, you got people out there dropping six novels in 2 months.
Yep.
You know,
Readers
the
snatching them
readers
up,
the
yeah.
readers are going. Yeah, it's we have become a Netflix binge mindset. You know, they don't like, the classic example is George R. R. He's so in the weed. I was Old Man in the Wasteland was beating him on Amazon in 2011, and everybody was like complaining, like, when's the next book out? And he's still like, I've released 20 books since then. He's released no books since then.
Wow.
You
Yep.
know, like, and he probably, like, and not to go down that trail, but that's fine and dandy if you can make a living if you accidentally get lucky. And I know Andy, and I'm not saying it's accidental, like he's a good writer, he's a great guy, but you can't plan to write The Martian. It's just so singularly good, and then these things happen that come along that create a zeitgeist about it and create a movement, and it goes viral.
Yep.
And nothing that Andy did ever planned for that. Like, and no one can ever plan for that. It just
Well,
happens. But the rest of us can just say, well, I'm gonna write this 6 story series about a Minotaur space marine, and I'm gonna build an audience for that, because there is an audience on Amazon, audience for everything. And
oh
then
yeah.
I'm gonna serve those people. I'm gonna serve them, and they're gonna give me money, and I'm gonna hopefully grow it. But don't plan for the wild hit. Plan to grow a small business.
Hmm.
That's really good advice. Um, so like with going indie, one thing that I've heard in my author journey is that one thing that the big name pub houses do is, they give you the marketing, they give you the editing and all that. Have you found that on the path that you've chosen, it's easier to do things like marketing or editing or whatever it may be your way without that big name support?
I think what happened to me initially is I wrote Old Man in the Wasteland. And for no reason that I could determine, thanks to God, it just went through the roof. Like, first month, it sold 2 copies. Next month, it sold 8 copies. And then, like, 4 months in, it started selling 15,000 copies a month. And I had no idea why. I'd tried marketing. I'd tried, like, this is 2011, like, do some interesting tweets talking about your book. Just
Hmm.
did all that stupid stuff. And then it just hit. And I had no idea. And then HarperCollins rolled in after a bidding war that I had an agent he arranged. I said, "Oh, okay, I can surrender now. They're going to take care of everything. And I can put on a jacket with patches and a
Yeah.
pipe, and I can be a writer now. This is my job to write. And oh, look, they've sent me to Comic Con. I can do that. Never sold one book at Comic Con. You're treated like a three-legged dog at Comic Con as a writer, unless
Really?
you're a huge star. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
weird. Then you think, well, writer here on a panel, Max Brooks, jumps into the panel like, this is Rockstar. And then you go to the signing and there's like 5 people there. And they go, well, what's that line of people over there for? And it's like stretching around the building. And they're like, oh, that's for the YA authors. That's for
Of
Anne Rice.
course.
So like, you go into Big Pub thinking everything's going to be done, but then later you realize it's not. It's more like the record companies, used to be, where they would just take 20 musical acts, throw them at the wall, and see what stuck. And so that's
Okay.
really how they are. They're like, every imprint in a major publishing house, I was with HarperCollins Voyager, they have a rock star that's carrying that imprint. And then every year they pick like 5 to 10 people and they give you a shot. And if you
Ah,
hit like that rock star, then you get to go to the next level. But if you don't, but through no, like, here's a classic example. I knew a guy that was kind of like in the George R. R. Martin vein. He was a nice guy, and he wrote a fantasy novel. And so they said, we're going to get you a book tour, a blog tour. He's
mhm.
like, great. So they launch his book on day one, and the first review that comes out is from a blogger, and it says 2 stars, and it's from the publishing company has arranged this, and it says, I normally don't read these kind of books, which is why I'm giving it 2 stars. I'm a romance blogger, but the publishing company forced me to read it. I'm not really interested in it. And that was the first review on his page.
Oy.
So
Ouch.
that's corporations helping
Like, thank
because
you.
here's what it breaks down to. They don't care. And modern corporations, especially now, they don't care about it. It's very hard in corporate life America now to find people who actually have passion and zeal for a product or their work. Most people are too distracted now by living their best life and bucket lists and Instagram and all this kind of stuff to actually want your book to be a success. They're just really hoping, well, you're like, here's how to really look at it. If the book is a success or not, they still get paid. They still get their salary that week. They don't
True.
care. But you don't get any royalties. So when I finally walked away from HarperCollins, or actually was fired, and that's a whole other story we don't need to go into, but we can if you want to sometime. It's on my blog. It's
All
called the
right.
Control Alt Revolt Controversy. It's a fun little read, but you don't have to read it. Whatever. So I was happy to go back to indie because I saw everybody that I knew doing even better than we were all doing in indie. I saw myself flailing for 3 years with TradePub, getting critical reviews, getting publisher starred weekly reviews, getting less advances, getting editing. Editing was a strong point. You get good editors, but you know what? After 2008, the entire culture in the world became a gig economy. So you can hire the editor freelance that is editing at HarperCollins. No problem. You can hire the same cover artist if you're willing to pay for it. It's not even that expensive. But what came out of the 2008 economic collapse is it is now a gig economy. You can hire anybody. You don't have to be hard. So you can have all those elements like that. But what I loved when Old Man in the Wasteland was rolling back in 2011 was getting up every morning and checking the numbers. And I remember Permuted Press came in early and they're like, "We want to buy this." And I'm like, you know what? I'm having too much fun checking the numbers, so I'm going to keep it. So getting back to indie, it's fun because it's like playing a sim publisher. It's like playing, it's like
Yeah.
you're learning all these things, and it's complex, and there's a lot to do with it. But the difference is you believe in it because it's yours. And your paycheck at the end of the week, metaphorically, symbolically, depends on what you do. Every time I deal with corporations, a lot of the time there are people that care for sure. And then there are some people that don't care. And there's no hit on them if something gets screwed up. And stuff gets screwed up in publishing. Stuff happens. So the coolest thing about being an indie, you are responsible for your own success. And if you go with Trade Pub, it's to want to play, personality and the fantasy that we all have about. But the fun thing about being an indie guy is you and the readers actually become friends. They're your pulse. You're the
Yep.
vampire of them.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want next? Like once you move to a customer service mindset, which is so much easier in indie publishing, as opposed to a Lord of the Manor mindset in Trade Pub, one, you have more fun because people are really interesting and they have a lot of great stories,
That's
and they
true.
give you stories. And two, they become your friends, and it's cool. And you get to watch them on Facebook or whatever. It's way more fun. It's just being indie is way more fun. But then your investment in it, it really does translate monetarily, right? Like I've never been more successful in anything that I've done in my life as being an indie writer.
So you get to live your dream and make money doing it.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
better than working. It's work that, like December, I had to jam on a novel that was due by the 31st, and like I
Ooh.
worked myself almost sick. And but it was still better than doing something I didn't. I love acting and I love being a soldier, but it was better than those things.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Um, so just a quick moment to say that we do have some people listening and watching our stream. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Nick, but we want to give
No,
a shout
please.
out. We want to give a shout out to Gretchen, who is a longtime listener. Thank you for listening. today and joining
Hola,
us.
Gretchen.
Um, and our very own Liberty is able to join us like that, just can't join us on stream today.
Sweet.
Um, yeah. And Liberty says that she met Chris back in May.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's
So,
he. Chris is a national treasure. Like I don't. You're like here. I am a writer on someone else's books, but do pick up the Six Figure Author series. It will transform your approach to writing, and it's not bullshit. It's
fair
the
enough.
straight dope. It's the straight dope.
Yep.
What you do with it and how you tell us, no one, like your voice, all that kind of stuff. Whether you're interesting, whether you can write, blah blah blah. But having said that, there are a lot of people who cannot write, who don't have editing, who even have
Yep.
terrible stories or whatever. They make money on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's, as my old Irish Cherokee grandmother would say, sometimes you just throw the hay down where the horses can get it. And there are people that have found niches, and other people are like, I don't care if it's spelled correctly or whatever. This guy tells the kind of story I want to read. This girl tells a tale I
Yep.
can get into. I'm down with this. And you can make money and pay off your parents' mortgage if you find that vein of gold and mine it.
y- Yep. But even that isn't the same as. I mean, yes, that's a great thing, but if you're doing it just to find that vein of gold,
Yeah, no,
it's not satisfying.
but that won't
Um,
stop anybody. And people
oh
are
no.
with themselves about it. Like, I mean, it's weird watching writers get into the movement. They see him say all the cliche Hemingway kind of vein and bleed out on the page, and I just love my writing and everything like that. But there's nothing wrong with just looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I don't want to go into that place anymore. And if I
Yeah.
have to make up stories about a space minotaur, I'm gonna do it. you
I'd
know,
read
like
stories about a space
you know, like
minotaur, sure.
I I bought a
Yeah.
$500 pair of jeans, Ralph Lauren, yesterday, and I said to myself, "Man, that's expensive for jeans. They're Italian, Italian denim." But
Yep.
I also told myself, yeah. And so when I sit down to write today, I got to pay off those jeans.
Hmm.
And
Like
that's a good way to look at it.
it's fun to tell. It's fun to be practically honest about stuff, and just and I'm not saying that to be hoity-toity or whatever, but sometimes I set goals for things that I want to purchase or things that I want to do, and I look at my writing, and it's I love storytelling and everything like that. But like I said, I've had two other great professions, being a soldier and being an actor, and in both of those I excelled and got farther than a lot of other people, and I loved them, and I still love them, but nothing remunerates me like writing. Nothing. And I like money, because what is money? Money is distilled life. That's what money is. That's all it is.
That's true.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the quote from, I cannot remember his name, but Chariots of Fire, where the main
Yep.
character says, when I run, I feel God, or however
Exactly.
it goes, well, when you write, you feel God.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's,
do. I mean,
yeah,
and I don't want to, I never want to say like, hey, turn your life over to Jesus, you're a great writer. I think everybody has awesome stories to tell. I just think, like, moving away from the money, you better have a personal philosophy and a message that you want to give, and a desire to entertain and loving this, because the money cannot be enough sometimes. Like, I still, like,
nope,
there are stories that I want to tell, and there are stories that I need to tell, and messages I need to communicate, and a lot of the times I used to think like it was about like, oh, I want to impart my philosophy to the world. What I've really come to understand in meeting a lot of people is a lot of people are actually suffering, or they're sitting with their dad who's dying of cancer, and they write you and they say, my dad and I spent his last week listening to your book, and it was one of the best weeks of our life. And now I realize, like, if I just tell fun stories, people have hard lives, and that kind of helps them a little bit, kind of helps them get to the next day.
Hmm.
So that's kind of become a mission for me. The money makes that possible, to keep doing that. If I didn't
yep,
make the money, then I can't do this. I gotta go act all day and feel emotionally dead, and then come home and say, oh, all right. And I'm, no, Call of Duty calls to me. Like,
Yeah.
yep,
the getting paid for it makes you want to get back and do it.
Or in
But
Josh and I's
there's
case,
another,
Destiny 2. But yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
Destiny 2.
exactly.
But the other aspect of that is like what happens when you do have success. And I call that if you get on the back of the tiger, you have to stay on that tiger. And so like that cherry, when I run, I feel like I'm running for God. Like
Yep.
however you need to like however anybody in this needs to translate in their life. Like you need that moment in your life, like when you're pounding the keys, when you're so in that story, when you go to bed that night, you can't stop thinking about it. Because if you have success, there's suddenly 10,000 people on the internet screaming at you for more success. And you just bought, the $500 pair of jeans, the Maserati, everything that you said you'd never do, you'd keep eating, didn't eat more. And I did. Like suddenly you go spend more money. And now, if you don't stay on the back of that tiger, if you're so foolish as to get on a sailboat and say, I'm just going to play for a year and then I'm going to come back and it'll all be there, it won't be. You like once you get on the tiger, you can't get off. So, why is that important when you're thinking about what you're going to write? Because it's very hard to genre jump. It's very hard to tell other stories. So once you start writing something and you plan for getting success in that, if you get that success, you got to stay there. Don't leave because that's the biggest mistake you'll make of your life.
Note to
That's
self: search Amazon for tiger saddle.
uh well, there is
And with that,
a
I forgot where we are in our list of questions.
I'm sure Tiger Saddle will take you to some dark
yes.
places on the internet.
Oh,
Yes.
probably.
There is a niche for cat girl aficionados, although
Exactly.
not all of them are good niches.
Yeah. The internet is a dark
Yeah,
hole, and
Josh
oh
is
my.
making fun of me right now.
Yes. Go pick up Aaron's book, Etherno. Uh, what's book one called?
Rise of the Dragon Girl.
Yes, Rise of the Dragon
But it
Girl.
does have a cat girl in it still, so.
Yes. Um, question three. So Nick, something fun that we like to do.
Question three.
Yeah. Is because we're tabletop gaming fans here.
Me too.
We have a list of 6 questions, and we roll the dice randomly to see which question we ask.
Okay.
Aaron, did you see what I put?
I did. I forgot it already, though.
All right.
Hang on a minute.
Question three.
Wait a minute. Back over here. Oh, that's closed already. Gotta reopen it. Scroll back
We're
up.
professionals.
Class
Ah,
circuit to
okay.
be.
There we go. Who would be in your fellowship on an epic quest?
Who would be my Legolas, my Gimli?
Yes, and you can answer real
Um,
or fictional people.
Yep.
I'm going to answer fictional people because I have like a lot of awesome people, and I don't want to slight anybody.
Fair
Um,
enough.
That's always safe.
yeah, exactly. I think like you got to have Rob from the Dark Tower.
Ooh.
Yeah, you got to have him. Um, you gotta have. So I'm one. I'm probably Boromir. I just got to be honest.
Goodbye.
Just gotta be real. I mean, like how on some days I'm Zoran. So you gotta have
Yeah.
Boromir. I think that I would have Kurt Vonnegut. I would have, and he's not fictional, but might as well be. Um, he was an infantry scout in World War II, so he's capable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got to have that. I think I would take. I think I would take. Let's see. This is a good question because it really kind of makes you think about things. There's a detective series that I like. One of my passions is reading what's called Mediterranean noir. So there's a guy named Spectre that's a detective in Sicily. I really like that character. I would take him. Um, I would take Paul Giamatti because he's an awesome actor and he could kind of play the hobbity role that we need. Um, I would take Rufus Sewell because that guy he's Obergruppenführer in Man in the High Castle, and he's my
Yep.
next big ask for a narrator for a series I got coming. Ladies, got to have some ladies. I would take Nicole because Nicole is my wife, and the most. She's the most epic uh, character you've ever met. Just striking seductress, reflexes of an assassin. So I would definitely take her. I can't take any other kitty cats because she would kill them. So no other women could be there. She's she is a she is a deadly person. I would take
Good
Gandalf for sure
answer.
because I think Gandalf really like Talon's Gandalf. Um, I think I would definitely take him. I would take the old man from the Old Man and the because he was very resourceful and he was a good guy. And if I take him, then I have to take Santiago from Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea because they're best friends.
All
So
right.
that's who I would take.
The, some answers I don't think we've ever gotten
That
for
is
that
true.
question. Um, and good job on the bringing your wife along.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's I married her to be with her, and I can't believe she
Yeah.
married me. I had to chase her around the world. She's an opera singer,
Oh,
and
so literally,
yeah,
huh?
yeah, literally. So she's just like she's my best friend, but she's my lover, and we have a good time. And we probably wouldn't need the rest of the fellowship. We just need like a really epic +5 holy adventure.
There you go.
Yeah,
Going old school D&D there.
yeah, that's me.
Yep. Um, so, uh, and check us out on the After Atlantis channel tonight, well, where we continue our D&D adventures. Um,
Sweet.
Oh
got
yes.
gotta gotta do our plugs there, but
Oh, so much fun.
yes. So to dovetail off of the fellowship question, I I'm friends with you on Facebook, and I see that you post a lot about tokenism Sundays or Saturdays.
Saturdays.
Sorry.
Yeah, tokenism
Um,
Saturday.
is that an actual project you're working on, or is that a just for fun thing, or both?
It's an actual project that I'm working on. I like all of it. I mean, I just make assumptions. That's what I do. But I think we all kind of came like I think we all got kind of exposed to Tolkien about the fifth grade, and then you devoured it, and you're like, it's the greatest thing ever. And I think that's what made me want to be a writer. And of course, you can't go right, Jared. You can't go, like there was all this thinking, throughout the ages, like, well, if someone's written it, you can't. And then what Galaxy's Edge taught me, because Galaxy's Edge was a combination of GI Joe and Star Wars, and we
Yep.
gave
Nice.
ourselves permission to play there, and it worked. So now I've started to look at other things, and for me, I wanted Tolkien is my end game. I want to do my own
Yep.
Tolkien. Everybody says that, but I think what they really say is, like I want to tell my epic fantasy, and it'll take the place of Tolkien. I see like every time I see a writer win an award, it's like the next cruddy thing they say. But no one ever wants to play in Tolkien, and that's difficult because of IP and things like that. But I'm developing a way to do it that I think will work. I have a project that I'm currently developing. Let's just
Mm.
say that.
Okay.
And so, but then where it really became hardcore is where the sort of woke writing crowd went, like they go after everything now, like they even go
Oh
after
man,
themselves, like it,
it's
and just said,
insane.
it's we got to get rid of this guy, and these are terrible things. And he talks about evil and good, and the orcs are misunderstood and all this kind of stuff, and he, that even went on this. Who I'm not even going to naming here went after Tolkien. It's great. Go after a guy who's dead already and wrote the greatest thing ever, veteran of horrific war, things like that. So I just felt like I'm going to curate. If you guys are going to walk away from this treasure, good. I don't want you there. It's
Yeah.
like, like it's like when you go to a museum and Mona Lisa's there. you're like, great, you know, a great Renoir, I'm a big painting fan, or Cezanne. And you always imagine, like when you see on movies, people go to museums, like it's going to get to be you and the piece of painting for a few minutes alone.
Yeah.
And then there's
Yeah.
like 75 million Chinese tourists with cameras. And you're
Yeah.
like, this sucks. You know, like that's how I feel about Tolkien. I just wish everybody would good. I'm glad you guys hate him. Clear off. He's all mine now. Great. More Tolkien for me. And
Exactly.
so that's just what this project is. It's an embrace. It's a study of how one man would write, one person. Anybody could do it. And I'm trying to get other. I'm trying to give people in this Tolkien Saturday thing the permission to make your own Tolkien. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. And I've spent a year going back through and reading everything, studying everything. And so I'm building my own Tolkien, not Tolkien world. So it'll feel Tolkien. The words will feel Tolkien. The stories, the characters will feel Tolkien, but I'm gluing the pieces together differently. And,
Nice.
you know, I can't use Boromir, I can't use Sauron, but
Hmm.
you're going to see things and you're going to like Tyrus
No, no. In
Rex.
this story, there's Voromir. Entirely different.
Yeah, Boromir, and he's the
Exactly.
good. Yeah, no, it could be no. Tyrus Rex in Galaxy's Edge is a combination of Obi-Wan and Boba Fett with Alzheimer's.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Okay, now
Yeah,
yeah, that's great.
Meanwhile, I'm still
yeah,
sitting over here thinking, G.I. Joe plus Star Wars. What does that equal
yeah,
out to? Now you know, and knowing is half the
yeah,
force.
exactly. You know, but it's just playing with the action figures in the dirt because that's what we all did when we got the Kenner Star Wars characters. Did you play
Pretty much, yeah.
Luke swinging?
Yup.
Yeah, you know, suddenly Bosk was your hero because that was the only one you had.
Yeah.
You know, like you made up your own stories, but you were playing with the figure. And so
Yup.
what the way that project came about is Jason and I were talking about that. I said you can take things that are style and tone and tell your own story with them, and you can be like, I don't think you should do what some people do and have tried to do, which is parody things in and like call it Ham Solo or you know whatever. But all characters are archetypes. Roland is an archetype.
Mhm.
Yup.
Han Solo is an archetype. You know, I think a lot of writers burn out a few circuits trying to reinvent a wheel that is already invented. Just play with things, and if you
Mhm.
you know if you want to play with the feel of a universe, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no court that you can end up in that will sue you for that. Now, if you lift dialogue or you use Legolas, yeah, you're going to end up in court.
Yeah.
But you can have an elf, you know, give him another name, another even Tolkien style name, and he can
Yeah.
do stuff, you know, and
Mega
maybe this time
blockless.
maybe this time it's Legolas is in the Gandalf. You know, what's that look like? And then that's kind of like that's what I learned from the improv study of the groundlings in LA is that like you can make new choices with things and you can pull it out, and like the more you force yourself to do that, the stronger you get. The more you use the force, the stronger you get. And I think a lot of the
Yup.
times writers are not challenging themselves by taking out different pieces and putting them together, and then like using sort of the yes and method of telling, the yes and method of storytelling, and then kind of like, okay, well now I have Legolas Gimp. What does that look like? How do I build on that? You know, and then you can build whole new stories from that. And that's just kind of what I'm doing. So yeah, that's the Tolkienism project that I have going. Um,
Okay.
I'm hoping to bring it to fruition.
Sounds fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean, and I love your reasoning there.
Hmm.
You know, just play in worlds that you enjoy. And if
yeah,
you remake something, great. Otherwise, just have fun.
Yeah, it's
yeah. Just
that's
have fun.
that's kind of what I'm doing with Eternal and the kind of the whole anime feel of it too. And it's kind of nice to hear somebody else say, "Hey, yeah, that's a legitimate approach."
Yeah, like I mean, that's sometimes when we just go ahead and admit stuff to ourselves, it really is super empowering and freeing. And then you know, but writers labor under a lot of about IP and about fair usage or about things, and so they burn out circuits. Like I said, trying to make up something that feels different. It's not.
Hmm.
There's not that much different.
Yeah.
There's like it's very hard to invent new things. So
Oh
if
yeah.
you like sort of the hard SF feel of Aliens, there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with playing there. You just can't use Ripley.
Well,
You
especially
know,
it's. I mean, you watch a bunch of documentaries, and that's basically what George Lucas did with Star Wars too. Is he
yeah.
played with the archetypes of the hero's journey and some of the feel of some of the B movie sci-fi serials, and
Well, that was
Yep.
the funny thing, and we still get it.
yeah,
People say, "Oh, you ripped off Star Wars," and like, look, you even ripped off the name Galaxy's Edge. He just because Star Wars ripped off Galaxy's Edge from us. We were a year ahead of them, and so when people come to us and say, "Oh, you ripped it," and then we go and the double of anybody claiming that Lucas was an originator.
yeah.
Like we can literally walk you through
I mean,
fiction from the 40s to the 60s and show you where
well,
he stole.
and there are professional documentaries that have already
Yeah,
done that for us. So,
yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
you get that's not a hill to die on. And so we've had talks with Disney, and they've said, "You go your way, and we'll go our way." It's very happy, but
there you go.
it's the misinformed masses will always say, "Well, you're
Oh yeah.
stealing." Or like,
Hmm.
well, no, we're
Yep.
not. They took the expanded universe and threw it in the dirt and said it was meaningless, and that this new Ray Skywalker thing they had that was really going to revolutionize everybody. And good luck to you. Seems to be working out. As Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you?
Now, The Mandalorian, on the other hand,
Oh
Yeah, well,
yes.
if I had one time-related Star Wars wish, it would be that Dave Filoni would have been put in charge of the new trilogy. But yeah, that's in the past. So,
yeah. It's I've never seen I've never seen it like that. That is the entire Empire State Building hanging from a nail. Like it's
Yep.
it's a like, and it's wonderful. It's like it's a wonderful lesson. Like this thing that is so minor saved your entire base. Now,
mhm.
Yep.
I have utter faith in Disney to screw it up, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
but but it is pretty cool. Like, I mean, because they were terrible things that were said about the base. Downright just basically calling them misogynist and racist and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And then to
Yep.
show this story and show like, no, no, no. And what I always tried to say is the Star Wars faithful were like Latinate monks in the Dark Ages. They were the only ones keeping the sacred texts alive when no one could read, and everything was descending into madness, and there was no content. And then you released a series and started off, and they would have brought their children. They would have said, "Listen, my faith is rewarded. Remember the great things that I told you? They're coming true." And they brought him in there, and they said, "Look, here's a divorced dad who gets stabbed by his kid. They just raped 11-year-old." But the
Yep.
Mandalorian restored faith for a brief, light, like it's the restoration. But they'll screw it up. Come on.
Yeah. You know, I keep hoping that they won't, but
Because you're a Latinate monk, you
yeah,
you
exactly.
you believe in the thing, but I would
Yeah.
just say it's time to it's time. Sometimes we have, well, if you really believe, make your own thing because you're not going to get it from
Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Well, uh, as just to poke fun at earlier interviews and at our
Oh no.
missing co-host, this has been a very profound uh, interview. Um,
Thank you.
um, so I guess my last question, and then I think Aaron has one more for you, is if you were to give one piece of advice that you haven't already given to an author starting out, what would it be?
Um, I would just say the will, Invincible. The will to win is important. Like everybody wants to hit the number one bestseller tag, and you want to have the Andy Weir moment, and you want to be discovered, and all that kind of stuff. But before you'll ever get there, the will to prepare is absolutely vital. Plan for that success, like everything that I've talked about here. Really research it, go in and just know you're just going to get this one shot. Take it that seriously. Don't go with like, I hope somebody discovers me as a diamond in the rough and then I'll get good. Get good before you ever hit publish. That's the best, most powerful thing I can tell you.
That's
Hmm.
that's good advice.
All right, and finally, where can we learn? I can't talk today. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's
Where
okay.
can we go to learn more about you and your work?
I would just head on over to Galactic Outlaw. And I used to say, go to my website or go on Facebook and meet me. But as you can tell, I'm a wildly opinionated person, and most people's opinions are probably not. It might, like, and that's fine. You can come over. I love everybody's because I like to learn from everybody. You're probably going to end up in a book of mine. But I think writers love, to reach a certain level and hold forth, just like, brainless celebrities who want to tell you about like their pet thing. And it's like, you just act, you lie for a living. Like I, I think everybody listening to this podcast either A, wants to have a good time with fiction. So go read one of the books I've written. Go read the Galaxy's Edge series, the Tyrus Rex series, the upcoming Savage Wars. Better yet, listen to them on Audible. You can get a free book of mine over at Amazon called The Red King, which is basically Lost meets Walking Dead. If you like games, I was like the first basically game lit author. I wrote a book called Soda Pop Soldier that people really, really love. You can just, if you want to learn more about me, right, go read my book. There's nothing on my website except links to my books and blog articles that'll probably get me listed someday for offending somebody. Don't go to Twitter. That's a dumpster fire for
Oh,
me.
no.
Facebook, yeah, Facebook. I barely keep it together. Instagram, I'm a cute little puppy. I just post nice pictures, so you can follow me there.
Hey,
But
nothing wrong with
I
that.
just throw the hay down where people can get it. Like if you
Yeah.
think like, this kind of guy might be my particular Captain Jack Sparrow, then go there. But if you really like, you can learn. Like I learn. Okay, Rian Johnson, right? We all hate him, right? Yeah, except he made a
Yes.
great movie,
Yeah.
not the Star Wars one. Knives Out is one of the best movies I saw, and it's by him. And he rips into my personal philosophies, not the deepest ones, but some of my political ones in that movie, and it's great. It's one of the best movies I've saw. Daniel Craig is awesome in that movie. It's a director I can't stand. So I like to learn from everybody. So if you're one of those people, then jump over there and do that. But I'm just saying, I think the best way that you can learn being a better writer is to read the books that you want to write like, or to read people who are successful until you find your voice. Uh, Anything else that I'm saying, like I post pictures of me eating donuts or Nicole, that's not going to serve you as a. But come over and join the tribe. But buy my books because you'll learn how I write, and I'm doing well, so there's probably something valuable there.
That's true. That's true. Um, we really appreciate you coming on the show, even with
Oh
the
Hmm.
no, thank
technical
you.
difficulties. Um,
No,
and we'd love to have you back sometime.
yeah, anytime,
Uh,
anytime. I got more to
so
say.
awesome. So check Aaron's stuff out on his website, which is there's your cue.
AaronDemott.com.
Check out Liberty stuff at I believe it's libertyspidell.com. We'll let you know if it's not. My stuff is coming out soon on soon to be released website.
Woohoo.
Um, and definitely
Congratulations.
thank you. Definitely go check out Nick Cole's stuff. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
All right. You have anything else you want to say, either of you?
Nope, I just love everybody.
Yep.
It's good to meet you. Thank you for listening to the sound of my voice, and thank you guys for having me on. And thank you, Liberty.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice that people want to hear you. Like I've been places in my life where people couldn't have cared 2 cents about what I had to say, but I had something
Yeah.
to say. I've been places where people tried to shut me up, and that sucked.
Uh,
So
Yeah.
that you guys made a place. I'm your biggest fan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, it's appreciated. So I'm forgetting something, but that's fine. We'll do it in post. So
All right, well, I'm going to hit the big red button then.
all right, pull the lever, Kronk.
Wrong
Happy trails.
lever!